Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly Game of Thrones review. This episode was episode 3 of season 5, entitled High Sparrow. And I actually enjoyed this episode fair amount more than last week's. Last week's kind of disinterested me a little bit. It was still nonetheless a good quality episode, all of these are. But I just was a little bit more entertained by this week's episode, High Sparrow. And that could just be because, I don't know, maybe I was just more in the mood for Game of Thrones tonight, I don't know. But, so let's get right into it. One of my favorite parts of the episode actually involved Cersei. And if you guys didn't know, Cersei is actually one of my favorite characters on the show. Tyrion being my favorite, of course, by far. But Cersei is probably within my top 4, top 5 as well. I just think she's such a great antagonist, villain type of character. But I also think she's really, really well played, by, of course, Lene Headey, and, she's just, she's manipulative, yet really intelligent, and, she's easy to hate, of course, too, but you can sort of, admire certain qualities about her, too, I think, in a certain light. I don't know, but, so I like the Cersei and Marjorie parts of this episode, actually. Of course, Marjorie, bedding, we'll say bedding for the sake of censorship, Tommen. But, Marjorie bedding Tommen. Okay. Now I'm going to get confused by it, just when I think about it for too long, right? But, so Tommen is the king, of course, and so him and Marjorie were married. Marjorie is now the queen, and it was kind of fun to see Tommen and Marjorie play off of each other. He's just so happy, so excited about all this happening. He was so worried that he was hurting Marjorie while they were having fun in bed, we'll say, and it was just kind of funny to see that. And then Marjorie talks up his mother quite a bit, which is of course Cersei, and it's just kind of funny that she would give off that impression that they have a good relationship, that they actually like each other, and Marjorie just sort of feels him out pretty much at will about anything she wants. Sorry about that. My hair is just disastrous right now, but I just poked myself in the eye. That's also fantastic. But my favorite part of it all was when we seen Cersei, talk to Marjorie a little bit later on. And Marjorie is sort of passive aggressive about the whole conversation, because she's being kind and nice, like the general public supposedly knows her for. At the same time, she was obviously taunting Cersei on her pretty much her declining position within King's Landing, since she was married to her son. She's asking Cersei what the official title for is now, what exactly she should call her, Queen Mother, or, something along those lines. And, Cersei is actually holding her tongue quite a bit, I think. But Cersei obviously has a huge distaste for Marjorie, and as odd as it may be, I'm actually on Team Cersei here. I have no idea why. I don't know, just because I enjoy the character a little bit more, I don't know. But, most people, if they look at it, they'll see that Marjorie is probably a better person. But then when you look at it again, is she really? I don't know. She just has a different presentation about her, She probably is overall more nice in general, but I'm kind of rooting for Cersei here. But I have a bad feeling on where this whole road's going to take Cersei's character this season. Because I did like the way she handled the whole High Sparrow thing of them, how they punished one of the men. She talked to the High Sparrow himself, and that was a pretty interesting part of it too. I kind of like the actor they had playing the High Sparrow for it, and I did hear something about the books regarding the way that man was punished in the episode in regards to Cersei, and so I'm a tad bit worried about Cersei here. But, we'll see where it goes. And really, though, as much as I do enjoy the character, any punishment she receives is probably justified. Almost any. Not everything, necessarily, but pretty much anything. Yeah, she deserves it. As much as I do like how she's played on the show. So, Cersei is a highlight of it for me. I also liked what they're doing at the wall with Jon Snow's character, him and Stannis's, increasing respect, yet tension. And, of course, Stannis kind of restating that, he can still offer Jon Snow a position of becoming Jon Stark, being recognized officially as a Stark, and sort of becoming, like the Lord of Winterfell and stuff like that. But Jon Snow refuses. He's very committed to his, position as the new Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, which you can admire about him. And as Stannis himself points out, that he has a lot of honor like his father, and Jon Snow of course takes that as one of the highest regards or praises he could receive. But Stannis being Stannis, he didn't mean that as praise. He meant that as like an observation that he should be concerned about, because as he says, honor got Eddard Stark killed. Eddard Stark, of course, Jon Snow's father. And yeah, he's probably right about that. If you go back and watch the original season, you can tell that, kind of like Cersei said back in season 1, it's like when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die, there is no middle ground. And, Eddard Stark tried to find that middle ground. He maintained his honor and his pride and things like that, and unfortunately got him executed, his head chopped off, of course. And so Stannis sort of like warned Jon Snow there. And it seemed like Stannis actually sort of admired Jon Snow later on for how he carried out that man disrespecting him, who was with the former commander of the Night's Watch, of course. Jon Snow just took him out front, plain as day. He disrespected me. He disregarded my orders, for him to go over and, basically rebuild that area they were discussing. And, he just flat out disrespected him and disregarded him as the Lord Commander. And Jon Snow listened to what he had to say. The guy begged for mercy. Jon Snow just took his head right off. And so I think, we've seen him and Stannis sort of looking at each other. Stannis probably respected him for making that decision. But yeah, nonetheless, you can tell these guys aren't going to be on the best of terms fairly shortly here. And let's see, I'm trying to remember what else happened in the episode. Of course, Arya back at the House of Black and White, she's trying to learn more and more about how to become no one, really, and of course, like the Faceless Man. And, she's like sweeping, she's learning how to serve and stuff like that, which they have to do. And, to a certain degree in a certain way, But the interaction she had with the other servant, or the other member going around there, was, sort of confusing at first, yet, it was like all a lesson to her to pretty much like disregard Arya Stark, you know what I mean? And she basically had to throw all her clothes away that she was previously like known herself for, and she also had to get rid of Needle, her sword that she's had since season 1. Sticking with the pointy end, like Jon Snow told her, and the one that, Eddard, of course, gave to her. And so she throws her clothes into the water, but she actually hides Needle, in between these rocks. She'll probably try to go back for it later on at some point. And so I'm really eager to see how, where this storyline goes for Arya. A lot of people are waiting for her to become that badass assassin type of character, another faceless no one, you know what I mean? And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that happen. I hope it happens. And yeah, so that part was really good. Arya's one of my favorite characters, so I'm glad they've been showing her for the past 2 episodes. Let's see, of course, Brienne and Podrick, they had their interaction. They seen Sansa going to the Boltons, and Sansa is basically being forced into marrying Ramsay. Of course, we haven't seen Ramsay in a fair while, at least extensively. We know him for torturing Theon, Greyjoy and such. Theon actually, hiding his face pretty well, and Sansa would go by because, she would recognize him immediately as, like one of Rob's friends. But I'm sure they'll see each other eventually, and that'll probably start to cause some issues. Maybe she'll actually try to help him. I don't know. But as far as Sansa being forced to marry Ramsay, it's completely disgusting. Considering his father is the one who, pretty much had a hand in, murdering. Literally, he was the hand that murdered her brother Robb. So it's very disgusting that she has to do that. Peter Baelish claiming that she needs to stop running and sort of like take up his position and actually start trying to do something, and try to get some more direct revenge towards her, for her family. But of course, Littlefinger, Peter Baelish, is a very self-interested and manipulative man. So this is all for his own angle, one way or another. And also, I like Tyrion's part a lot. Towards the later end part of this episode. Of course, how Varys, eventually reached a city out, somewhere outside of Daenerys' main area, main territory, and I liked Tyrion. He was like, I need to get out of this wheelhouse. As they were traveling along, that was really funny. He said he's gonna be, of course, he said he's gonna be no use to Daenerys Targaryen if he's lost his mind. And so they stop at this nearby city, like I said, or town type of area, and he actually sees, how that woman that everyone was looking at as she was chanting, and they made eye contact for a second, so I'm wondering if she would recognize him somehow. I don't know. And then they go into a brothel, and he starts talking to one of the prostitutes there, and it looks like he's just gonna oh yeah, get drunk, drink, let the whore suck my cock, and stuff like that. But when he touched her hand, it seemed like he actually hesitated. He stopped. He chose not to do it, and I'm wondering if that's because he was remembering Shae at that point. I don't know. And he was, like he said, he was shocked himself. And then the big thing about it was, as he was peeing off the thing, we run into Mormont, and of course, the one Daenerys pretty much banished, and he basically bounds and gags Tyrion and starts carrying him off. He's gonna bring him to the Queen, not Queen Cersei, not Queen Mother Cersei, but most likely Daenerys Targaryen. He probably knows he's Tyrion Lannister and figures if he brings Lannister to Daenerys, he can sort of get in good with her again, you know what I mean? But I think Tyrion will nonetheless, still become of use to Daenerys, and I'm not sure what Daenerys will do to Mormont once she sees him again, but I don't think he'll be killed or anything like that by Daenerys' hand. So I expect he'll still become of use to Daenerys like him and Varys are planning on. I'm wondering how Varys is going to find out what's going on, when he will, stuff like that. And that was the thing that closed the episode. And I'm sure I forgot to mention something. Oh yeah, we seen Cersei talk to her one of her people that has a hand in the medicine, the experiments, and things like that. And last we seen him, or one of the times we seen him, he actually had the Mountain's body who was being poisoned. By an arrow or spear that Oberyn had. He had stabbed the Mountain with before he was killed. And we see this body that's covered up, and it starts jerking around. And he's quickly told to settle down pretty much. So I'm wondering if they're making some special modifications to the Mountain. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure there's a Mountain under that covering there. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. And that's all I have to say about this episode. Very good. I enjoyed it more than last week's, even though it's always a good quality with this show. I did have a lot of fun with this one. Looking forward to seeing where everything goes this season. Even if it was a good episode at all, it's all been feeling like build-up. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it's all going. And, if you guys want to talk about something I neglected to mention in this, or I forgot to mention, feel free to leave a comment. I would love to discuss it with you. And, I'll catch you guys next time. I'm not sure when that will be, but at some point, you'll see me again, of course. And, catch you guys next time. And, peace.